My name is Matthew Spoke. I'm the founder of the AION Foundation. To my left is Jack Liu, the founder of Wanchain. To his left, Qingkai of the Celer network, Rong Chen from Elastos, Josh from AION, and Jun Li from Ontology. I think most of you know these projects, so we don't need to go too deeply into who everybody is. You can obviously find out more about us online or follow everybody on Twitter. We got our Twitter handles up. So I'm going to start us off. We'll give a couple of themes that we want to go through, both around scalability and interoperability, and also just different perspectives, I think, as to how different projects are solving this problem. But to kick us off, seeing as tonight is the Ethereum Super Meetup, I figured I'd ask the starting question, and anybody can jump in on this one, but Ethereum 2.0, it's coming, so why do we need any other solution out there? So Jack, why don't we start with you?
Yeah, I'm an Ethereum fan, certainly, and I would think that in Chinese world there are 360 different industries. Right? At least you need a couple chains to solve different problems, right? And we are following the footsteps of certainly Ethereum, right? I hope that they'll be very successful. But at the same time, there are a lot of problems we're trying to solve. I think interoperability is one of them. They're not looking at it at this moment. So many other problems to solve, and certainly we want to connect all these different chains. I think that's very important. And
Qingkai, we were talking about this earlier, but Celer is working on a layer 2 solution, both for the Ethereum network as well as Definity. If you think about the future roadmap of these protocols, what's important about layer 2? Why do we need it today? Why do we need it after potentially layer 1 solutions start to become more scalable?
Yeah, I think that's a very good question. Yeah, so first, like the idea of layer 2 scaling is basically you move most of your transactions off-chain while only resulting to the blockchain when you want to dispute the state or settle the state. Okay, I think the question can be answered by in the long term and also in the short term. Okay, so in the long term, I think that depends on the ultimate goal of blockchains scalability. Yeah. So everyone's saying we can continuously improve the scalability of the blockchain. We have 1,000 TPS, 10,000 TPS, even 1 million TPS. But is that really enough? Yeah. So I think the ultimate goal of blockchain scalability should be aligned with the current internet scale. So basically, if you look at the current internet scale, basically every second there will be 53 terabytes information being transferred on the internet. So no matter how how scalable you improve upon the current layer 1 blockchain, there'll still be some bottleneck because essentially the performance of your blockchain system will be no better than a system where a single node arbitrates basically every traffic. So that's a kind of performance bottleneck. So in the long term, we should need a way to scale out the blockchain just like today's internet. So that's, I think, why the layer 2 will come in the long term. In the short term, I think the answer is that we can immediately start to using the speed up provided by layer 2 right now. So for example, Ethereum 2.0, it may still take 1 or 2 years for the developers or for the customers to use that. But right now, for example, with Celer's network SDK, and you can basically start to have tens of thousands TPS on top of Ethereum right now. Yeah.
So Jun, we were talking last night a little bit about the obstacles, I'd say, that are still stopping mainstream industries, mainstream companies from using. I think we've heard a lot over the last couple of years, TPS. Scalability is one problem. What are the other problems that are stopping us, or are we ready for mainstream users? And what else do you think are those gaps that need to be solved by the industry?
Yeah, to support the mainstream business, especially in different industry, there are 2 key things. One is a lot of need a deeply customization, not only in the application level, also the infrastructure level. They need a deeply application, and to reach to the production level, you need a kind of flexibility and, of course, include the scalability. Another point is when you support a real business, mainstream business, you need to link a real business process. Currently, we are building trust based on the technology, no matter smart contract or digital assets, all is technology to support the trust. But then in the real scenario, business scenario, most trust is from legal system, from community, from people by people, or company to company. Those kind of trust should be integrated to a decentralized mechanism. You need decentralized identity, data exchange, reputation, contract, signature service. All is kind of the kind of scalability or kind of module supported real. So it's more important when you integrate it with different IT system or even permissioned blockchain or other public blockchain. That is platform can support a real business for that. Yeah.
And I think one of the perspectives that we've been putting a lot of focus in on this topic of mainstream adoption is really that some of the base layer protocol designs are interesting, but from an app developer's perspective, it's almost too complicated. They want something that kind of gets surfaced up as a tool or a piece of infrastructure that's easier and easier for app developers to use. Rong, we were talking briefly about what Elastos is up to. You guys are building out, as you call it, the new web. How do you view, what the interaction is going to be between a regular developer and the protocol, or what's going to be the gap between that developer and the tools and pieces of infrastructure that they use to build their solutions on top of Elastos or on top of any other blockchain system?
Well, when I ran into blockchain 2 years ago, 2016, I ran into the notion of world computer, right? Basically, I've been doing operating systems or computers for 35 years. That's like, the idea, actually, if you see everybody is having an arm race about who is doing a better world computer. Let's say, but then when we compare the old computers, there's real-time computers, scientific computers, fault-tolerant computers, autonomous driving kind of machine learning kind of computers, right? We have, definitely it's not one size fits all. How many people realize actually on this iPhone, right, there are at least 40 CPUs, 40 computers to build this one computer. And on like Mercedes-Benz, at least 100 computers, right, are built into a Mercedes-Benz, like a autonomous driving computer, iPhone on the wheels, right? So basically, when we see different computers, we have to go back to the fundamentals. Can we build a network of computers? That's very, very important. And also, when you build an iPhone with 40 computers, and which one is the one running apps? Which one is running at the user level, like virtual machines, running on top of Linux? Which one is really running as infrastructure, as the core backbone CPUs, right? So that said, we are building this new web of computers. New web of computers, not only web of blockchain computers, also consists of iPhones and Android phones, right? Normal computers, and also the virtual machines. In a month, in April, we're going to announce this new smart web. This is a new incarnation of another www web. www web is a web of data, and can we build a web of code? And so we are going to run like Ethereum sidechain at the user level, on demand. Say Linux, you can run multi-processes on demand. Can you launch multiple Ethereum sidechains on demand? So we are going to have Ethereum-compatible sidechains next month. And we are also going to run Neo smart contracts. We're going to have a Namecoin. We're going to have IPFS running at the infrastructure level, the storage. We're going to have like DPoS, right? And also merge mining with Bitmain. Currently, we have about 1 million set-top boxes running this smart network, currently running. At this point, we have about 500,000 active nodes because some machines are off, some machines are on. So that's what we have right now. We don't really scale up in the way we borrow actually from, we're standing on giant shoulders. We don't really do like Ethereum sidechain or Neo sidechain or like Bitmain kind of Bitcoin chains, right? But we borrow the code, put them into a web of chains and computers.
So, one thing that you said in there that makes me think of ICON, network of computers. ICON, you guys have been involved since very early on in setting a lot of the discussion around interoperability. Obviously, Wanchain's in a very similar space. What's your view on this concept of networking between blockchains? What's going to prompt that to become a more real part of how these systems evolve? We were talking a little bit about standardization. There's different people working on different styles of interoperability. What's ICON's perspective on this, and how are you guys solving that?
Again, we are waiting kind of like a remittance, your kind of networking. But I believe those, we call them friend chains. Currently, we have our own main chain, but we do expecting you guys contributing because there are different computers on the internet. So we do expect different kinds of work computers to build this new internet. And on top of this new internet, we run virtual machines. Virtual machines like virtual web services, on demand. Web services without website is what we're shooting for. Because when we talk about dApps, we are literally talking about three things. One is, of course, like sidechains, right? And of course, never forget, there's also website and the browsers or the clients. So if, let's say, CryptoKitty, dApps is something you cannot shut down by a third party. So if you have a CryptoKitty, but then the CryptoKitty company shut off the website, you have a kitty, but you cannot run the kitty. Basically, you lost your assets. Can you have a smart web without websites, web services without websites, launching web services on demand, right? And with the browser, no more off-chain, on-chain, everything is leveled.
Josh, what do you think?
If I come back to your original question about, right, okay. So, well, as some of you might know, that actually ICON started as a private chain or solution provider, right? So basically, we are also, of course, we agree that it is very, very important for us to make an interoperability between the really big public platform, but also we have a little bit of focus on now, which means that there are a lot of also private chains on the world, and then we are trying to also make some kind of connection between the private chain and also our public chain, which is basically interconnected with the different private chain that we built by using our loop chain engine. So, because, for example, like we are working, for example, with some of the banks in Korea, which basically pretty much hesitate to really have some kind of connection with the public chain. But then we try to integrate some kind of time-stepping feature from the public chain to be able so that they can actually use our time-stepping to validate their transaction in the private chain. So those kind of actually trial that we're trying to make, it is kind of it's a very interesting and meaningful step to make some kind of connection between the private and public chain. And also coming back to the question about the standardization, there are a lot of also interesting actual standards making body around the world, because interoperability is not just the blockchain focused issues. Interoperability is needed in every technology sector. This is why there are several standard-making bodies such as International Standards Organization, ISO, like International Telecommunication Union, ITU, which is basically UN organization. But they're really trying to make some kind of institutional approach to making a standard, right? But I don't want to say that actually we need some kind of really one single technical standard which should be used by everyone. But rather, what they do is try to identify what are the really minimum technical requirements, what are the minimum considerations that we have to think about if we wanted to make really interoperability between different technologies. So by doing that, we can avoid the situation where a lot of the unnecessary multiple efforts done by the multiple people, right? So we can avoid that. So, but the problem is that if you go to this kind of standard making meeting, mostly they are like the government people, like academia. They have some kind of different perspective. There's no really dialogue channel between this kind of institutional people and the actual technology expert that we can see here. So basically, what we wanted to do is to make some kind of dialogue together with this kind of institutional process. So this is why we currently actually participate in some kind of standard making process with the ISO and the ITU, and then. This is the point to make us really dialogue together with them. Yeah.
Thanks. And I think we're gonna. I want to leave a few minutes, but before for audience questions. But before we do, maybe we'll quickly go through. And I think one question that I get often about the AION project, and I'm sure everybody else gets, is we're all working on very, very ambitious technical roadmaps. We're working on things that have very meaningful global impact. Some of us will make it, some of us will not. Time will tell. It takes money to do that. how many of us have thought about the time it's going to take for our solutions to make it to mainstream adoption, and how do we make sure that we maintain kind of sustainable, I don't know if you can call them business models, but call them sustainability within our organizations to make sure that we're alive by the time we get there. I mean, I think many people in the audience probably saw the last couple of months, we've seen 2 major announcements coming out of the NEM Foundation, where it doesn't take much for a large project to come very, very close to the edge. So maybe a question for you, Jack, and we'll quickly go through, and I'll say quickly just so that we can get to some audience questions. So quickly go through and give your perspective about sustainability within your projects.
Sure. We get this question a lot as well. Right? We are targeting, let's say, have enough fund, right, from our initial fundraising, and also a lot of coins we still have in control. Right? We're targeting at least multiple years or up to 10 years around that time, and based on, of course, based on the crypto market, right? And we'll adjust our spending, right? If the market goes up, and we'll spend more, right? But at this time, we are following our roadmaps and pretty much complete the 1.0, 2.0, 3.0, and this year we're doing 4.0, which is integration with a private chain solution, right? So we pretty much follow I mean, the milestones we defined in our white paper. So as long as we're targeting to that multiple years, you know, we have enough funding to support this network, we should be fine. At the same time, we have other mechanisms. Right? We certainly, once we have this non-profit organization running this non-profit network, we still can have for-profit businesses that's self-sustaining to build the applications on top of this network, right? And we can continue to raise funds through many mechanisms like STOs or traditional VCs, many other ways, right? Continue to fund this whole, this network. Certainly, I think once we get the cross-chain working, let's say, bridge with Bitcoin, bridge with Ethereum, and many other chains, all in the same network, there will be a new economy. I'm sure that there will be a business model for us, for everybody.
Qingkai?
Yeah. I think that's a very good question. So I think the key thing, like at least for Celer network, is like in order to be sustainable, just like using the fund we have raised so far is not actually a sustainable way. So the same of Celer network in 2019 is actually to find and explore a legit business model that actually can generate new revenues. Yeah, and as a layer 2 project, we first time we enable a highly interactive applications on top of Ethereum, and also we can enable instant payments. So we're thinking about how can we find basically a legit business model on top of that. And just like a few weeks ago, we just launched like a new product, user-facing product. It's called Celer X, which is basically an esports gaming platform for mini games. So basically, you can play, for example, some games like Gomoko or chess games to computer skills with your friends. And those games are fully decentralized and on top of existing blockchain, but using the layer 2 technology. And the players will basically put some entry fee and get some prize if they are good at games. Okay. So basically, at Celer, we have built up a production level infrastructure of layer 2, which basically can provide sort of instant payment services. So basically, during this process, we can basically take off some of their entry fees as a kind of a fee to organizing this kind of matches. And that's something we have been trying to identify what is a good business model in a layer 2 space. And we actually hope to break even in this year without any new fundraising. Yeah.
Jun, you guys are a very high-profile project at Ontology. Maybe you would have a perspective that I think is probably interesting. Yeah,
first, of course, we have currently have enough resource can support us to 3 years or more than that. And but from the long-term sustainability, I think 2 strategies. One is we will involve technical service is just a small part, but we will involve a lot of business operation in our ecosystem, different project. That is long-term business strategy. Another is for the public community-based project. One thing is very important is building a reputation. you should very care about your promise for the community, especially your technical roadmap. For example, last year, Ontology almost finished all the promise for the technical progress, and people will trust you. Yes, maybe blockchain will be next big things like the internet. But who is Google? Who is Amazon? People will choose that. Who is the future superstar? If you can keep your promise every step, people think, okay, you have a potential to be the superstar. They will put more money to support you. That is very important because many tokens, you have some parts of allocation, support your long-term development. But how high value about this allocation is quite important. So reputation is more important, I think.
I know that we haven't gotten to you guys yet, but I just want to make sure we're watching time. Let's go to a quick few audience questions, and we'll see if we can get you guys to jump in. But a few minutes for questions from the audience. So if there's anybody who has a dying question for somebody on stage or just in general. I'm happy to continue asking questions if you don't have any. Okay, well, Josh, why don't we go to you? Let's talk about AION and your path to sustainability.
Right. It might not be a really one-size-fits-all solution, but from the AION, actually, this is really a realistic question for us because we already have like 150 people working in the foundation. It's 70% of more than 70% of the people are developers, and they really definitely have to, make our organization really sustainably grows. So basically, one thing, of course, we're really trying to nurture the DApp ecosystem in a public chain, also to make a lot of transactions happen. But that's kind of a long way to go. But on the other side, just like the Wanchain, also we also have some kind of make a lot of efforts to expand our private chain solution to the different verticals, because there are a lot. We found a lot of interest from the government, like insurance, like financial companies, and the different vertical industry verticals. And then we've been building a lot of partnership with the different organization, even like international organization, even charity organization, but non-profit organization who wanted to use the blockchain for their improve their services. And that's one thing actually as a business model that we are trying to do, making our organization at least mid-term sustainable.
Rong?
Well, for us, again, we are one of the really rare project exist. Well, we are building a new web. Right? I have two role models. One is Satoshi Nakamoto, and who disappeared 3 years into the project. And the other role model is Netscape. Netscape started the www web, but 3 years later, and unwillingly, it disappeared. Right? So for Elastos Foundation, it's been 1.5 years for the project, and the new web will be launched within a month. In April. That said, we have another 2 years of reserves. And after the 2 years, we don't have a business model, and we're willingly, after we exhaust all the Bitcoins, and the foundation will disappear. And in the meantime, we're going to launch something called a Cyber Republic, which take over the mining, the inflations. The coins will be managed by something called a Cyber Republic, by a consensus. So they vote on, you can think of it as National Science Foundation, right? So everyone is encouraged to apply for funding, and there's a consensus, give you funding to make sure the smart web will be self-sustaining, self-running without a foundation.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. So I think, there's lots to cover on this topic, so we're going to probably cut it there. When we talk about scalability, interoperability, there's lots of different approaches, and I think we're at that stage in the industry still where we need to be in a mode of experimentation. We'll see what kind of lasts and survives, but at the very least, I think with projects like AION and Wanchain and Celer, Elastos, AION, and Ontology, there's a lot of good, smart people working on some of these issues, so lots to look forward to. So thank you so much for joining us on the panel. Thank you, everyone, for listening. Thank you.